Good morning, welcome to a morning outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 24th of March. Sorry, I was talking about the happy Mondays a moment, I was a few moments ago and got a bit carried away there. Anyway, moving on, looking at these markets. Before I look at the Forex markets themselves, let's look at for the possible impact this morning from news, and we've got the French data coming at 8:15. This is the services manufacturing PMI, and then we've got the the German at 8:30. The overall European we've got at 9, UK at 9:30, and the US at 1:45 this afternoon. This morning I'd just wait for, if I'm looking at any euro pairs, would be looking to get these this out of the way really. The 8:15, 8:30 I'm not so worried about. In the 9 o'clock we'll see what happens. Anyway, there's not a great deal shaping out there, but some potential. If you're trading a pound, I'd hang in there just to see what happens here. We've seen some positive data overall. Saw the UK retail sales out overnight came in at 1.2 versus 0.2, and some of the other numbers around it. Also, the core figure was actually quite significantly higher, 1.5 versus 0.2, and the year-on-year drops there. So obviously people are out there spending. Haven't got any money, but they're spending. It may be because the cost of everything's gone up, that the retail sales is effectively, I don't know if it's actually correlated or corrected for inflation, but there's a question that I should really look into. Anyway, it's positive. Just looking through here because it's pretty good with speakers. We've got one speaker this morning, ECB speaker there, and Fed Bullard speaking later at 1:30. So, and Bank of England at 4. So let's crack on. Look at the markets. We'll start off looking at Forex and always looking at the euro first. So the euro yesterday pitched into. That's an alarm that's sitting there as opposed to anything else. I was looking for what is it actually running into. There's not a lot of obvious stuff sitting here at the moment, but anyway, it's running to those previous highs and had a reaction. It was actually its daily R1 there yesterday, so it did have a pivot, of course, providing resistance. But just looking at and it was the weekly R2 was around that area as well, so it's had a bit of a drag on it this week. There goes the R1 it ran into. Now currently sitting there waiting for the news. I could be guided by the news. The direction of this market had been pretty strongly to the upside yesterday. The reason I put the alarm there was I was waiting for another push up there and a break of that R1, but it never happened. It's shown some weakness here, and we're consolidating where we are at the moment. So really just looking and waiting for the news back above the pivot where it becomes bullish again. Sitting down here, we'll have it as if it's not hit this pivot, the daily pivot. Well, if it hits the S1, it could roll onto the S2, so we could see a bit more of a rollback on that. Trend-wise, it's broken its trend. It's put lower highs in, so it's put all the sort of suggestion that the trend has come to an end. Divergence up the top there. Well, I don't think it was much, but anyway, lower high, broken the trend line. That's potentially a trend at the end. The pound. Morning, Ian. Morning. So the pound. Now the pound's not such an easy case, and it's not been a particularly easy case for a while. I was getting suggestions to sell it, to buy it, to sell it yesterday, but or actually just to sell it and buy it. But either way, it's sitting there in a horrible old chop. It's still in an upward trend though. It's still showing on this 4-hourly higher lows coming through there and higher highs. So for me at the moment, it's still to the upside. Shorter term frame, arguably this has changed a little bit. It's broken the trend because it's walked out of it as opposed to breaking it properly in terms of just selling off. And it has put the excuse me, a lower high in there, but chopping away today pretty much like the euro. Again, maybe a bit more bullish above the daily pivot, but I don't particularly like the shape of it, and I'd probably would avoid it today. US dollar yen So US dollar yen has been shoving southbound here. We can see it's in a pretty decent downward trend, lower highs, lower lows coming through there. It's continued through the Asian sessions, making it probably the strongest pair out there, and it's looking like it wants to go down further at the moment. Maybe back a break below the S1 area. Could see the S2 being targeted, although it has, I just noticed it has hit the daily pivot there, so slightly less probability of that S2 being hit. Aussie dollar, don't really need to look at this too much. They're messy, the Aussie dollar, and it just really is not going anywhere. It's in a tight range and choppy. It might go up there and catch the pivot. If it reacts to that, potentially there's a sell side on it, but messy. Just a bit like the inverted Aussie dollar, we call it the Canadian dollar. Exactly the same picture here. It's ranging. I was interested in this, and I mentioned it yesterday. If it broke this pivotal area, now it did break it, but it didn't manage to close below it. And in fact, even an hourly point, on the hourly time frame, it closed for about an hour, and that was it. And it was back up and put a key reversal bar in. There you go. So you can see the key reversal bar. So not convincing yet. There was a bit of a question yesterday I had regarding this, and why is the CAD doing so well? And it's a good question, because if you look at the sentiment from the bigger money, they've been coming out the CAD for a long time. I don't think it's the CAD doing well at all. I think it's the US dollar doing not well. That is the reason that we're seeing this move. And well, the more it sits in this area, the less I like it. Although it could be, a proper break to the downside there. Having tested these upside, well, could be a better signal. Don't know why I'm looking at New Zealand dollar. It's ugly. So I've got some opportunities here. Euro yen I was looking at. It's a bit of a mess, to be fair, but it's got some scope, and it does get into some reasonable trends at times. It's put the lower high in on this time frame. It's broken its weekly pivot, and if you come down here, it's really just sitting in support into its S1 now. It hasn't hit the daily pivot today. A break of that S1 gives me a reasonable opportunity back down to the S2. And it stays within the trading range that it was previously in, so that's fine. Okay, the other pairs, the only other pair I've got is the Aussie New Zealand here, which I was looking at this big bear flag. Now I like the downside in the Aussie dollar. I'll play it as frequently as I can, because that's where it's running at the moment. It's back into this downside. We've got lower highs, lows coming through on the dailies, so the structure's there. Bit more messy, I guess, well, this week really. It did just take out the high there, but it's not the most solid of markets. Rolled over, and looking like, well, I've just put my alarm down below the daily pivot. If it does roll over and breaks that level, I could be interested for the S1, bit of continuation. Shallow retracements up until now. This is a bit deeper, of course. But I'm not looking to sell it where it is. I'm only looking to sell it if it already shows its weakness. So I'm not trying to sell the top. Right, that's the Forex markets for you. Let's have a look through the indices, and we'll start off with gold, and by the looks of it, silver. Gold first then. Just really looking at the bigger picture here. Gold's it reclaimed its move to the upside there. Trend wise, that's where it is. It had been quite ugly. I'd never really liked this bit of price action when it sits around like this. Really looks like it's more likely to go to the downside, however. Did manage to shove on through there with a weakness, the US dollar in particularly. Here's a 4 hour. Let's get down the time frames there. So it's sitting at the moment around its daily pivot. There is this sort of flaggy pattern from the highs down here. Maybe a break of that could give a move up to the prior highs, but you can see over here, and its daily R1. I would look at, if I was targeting that as a day trade, I'd look at it short of the R1, because the bodies are sitting just at about 2/3 of the way. But maybe it could run through. The wicks went further the last time. Price has gone at those sort of levels, but I'd be just a bit careful on that. Silver then, what's silver up to? It's been making a decent recovery from where it has been, and looking quite positive, which means people probably want to sell it now. Higher lows, consolidation, pushing up. Got nothing much to add on that. It's not necessarily a buy, and it's a horrible day yesterday, and it does this. You have long periods like this, you get a surge and that's it. So yeah, still looking positive from what I can see at the moment. Right, oil, crude market. Well, I was looking to see if it came back up and hit the underside of these lows, where it hasn't so far. And in fact, yesterday I ended up putting a shooting star in. Again, this is the 4-hourly, the weekly pivots and 4-hourly bars here. The week's been, well, it's been quite positive for it. It looked like it might, as I say, gone further. It hasn't. A break below these lows here for me again would be a little bit more positive. I say positive, good for the downside. Don't really want to be buying it as such. There we go. This lovely move here into its daily pivots. Just look at Brent. See, Brent's already gone that little bit more. Already moving that bit more. It's already started a move, but Western Texas just up that little bit. We've got a bit more time on that. As I said, I've said many a time, Western Texas tends to move a lot more in the afternoons. Right, okay. Equity markets. Asian sessions had a not greatest, but it's hardly any movement. Really, I don't think too many people trade it. I'm not going to cover it every morning. I just think it takes away from the current the markets people do actually trade. So looking then at the S&Ps, and let's just make sure I'm on the dailies here. S&Ps yesterday trying, but it sold off in the end of the market, and it's struggling where it is at the moment, and well, it arguably still bear flag if it broke the lows here. So still struggling market, not really pushing up particularly well. Dow Jones certainly behind the curve here at the moment, which doesn't bode fantastic well for it, but at some point maybe it'll go. And the Nasdaq, which is in front of the curve, managed to hold on to most of its gains yesterday. It's been more bullish, and well, it's started off well this morning, but it's just come down on the Nasdaq. And look at that a little bit more. So it's having hit its weekly R1 and hasn't hit the pivot. There's a bit better chance it could push on a bit further, and we're sitting here currently into the daily. So possible continuation here. R1 certainly on the books there at the moment. It's sort of in that upward trend, so it would make sense. Okay, close to home DAX. The DAX has been really horrible. I talk about ugly markets, and I know I get quoted as saying ugly far too often, but you can only call an ugly thing an ugly thing. Someone's beauty, I'm sure, but yesterday, look at it, it was horrible. Lower highs, all I can see is a weakness in this market. Lower highs, I'd be more tempted to be selling it to the downside if it breaks below the pivot than holding on to it for the upside. Just not looking pretty at the moment. The FTSE, likewise, this is an hourly picture. Let me just come back to the dailies. The FTSE had a bit of a torrid time over the last week or so. Actually, this week's not been so bad for it. It did manage to rally back up there. It's last week that really saw the big sell-off there. But again, look at it struggling around this area here. When you come down to the hourlies, look, it's into its daily pivot. Now, I wouldn't just sell this because it's into the daily pivot. I'd wait for it. It's got a little bear flag. Just wait and see if it breaks the lows here. But for now, it's starting off on a reasonable kick. Retail sales come out for the UK pretty well, so above expectation. So it might just be a little light that it needs. But for now, I'm still looking there in the short to intermediate term on the bearish side. Right, on that note, I better just have a look. It's Friday and I haven't looked at it for a couple of days. Quick look at Bitcoin, see what we're up to here, and let's go into daily picture. It is holding up reasonably well here, so it recovered yesterday what it lost on Wednesday, and yeah, we could see this breaking out over the weekend, the way things move sometimes, maybe selling on Saturday and buying on Sunday. I don't know if that's a complete pattern, but I've seen it a bit lately, it seems. So at the moment, yeah, looking a bit more positive than it has been. Ethereum still sitting up around the highs there as well, looking like it's got some more potential. So Chainlink often get asked for as well. Not looking, it's slower, it's messier. If you're trading these coins, most people, I don't know, some people day trade them. It makes for more difficult moves for things like Chainlink, and not necessarily a good day trading because of the massive retracements. Okay, going to end it there. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.